broken, flying home without him. We had to leave our baby in another state. That was only part of the trauma. Every detail cut deeper. Having to call an abortion clinic, transferring medical records, arranging childcare, packing in fear, traveling while pregnant and grieving. In that out-of-state clinic we held Sia, we told him he was loved and we sang him to sleep. If S323 had been law then, the trauma would have been even worse. My doctor's hands would have been tied even further. Families without the resources we had would be devastated. Pregnancy is unpredictable and complex. You never know what will happen until you hold your crying baby in your arms. I believe every one of us is capable of showing compassion in these situations, but bills like S323 blur the lines for moms and dads, for doctors and for the families and neighbors who step in when tragedy strikes. I urge you, don't make families suffer more than they already have to. Please vote no on S323. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next is John Rice Cameron.
Before you start my time, I've got a handout for the members of the committee if someone could get this to distribute it. It just speaks to the importance of the criminalization aspect of this bill. Thank you. Thank you. My name is John Rice Cameron, and I'm the legislative liaison at the Foundation to Abolish Abortion, testifying on the bill. This bill would be the strongest anti-abortion law in America if passed, and I will speak to that. However, this bill needs two very important amendments, which I will outline. The strongest aspect of this bill is the imposition of criminal penalties on all perpetrators of abortion. Following the Dobbs decision in states regulating abortion at 6 weeks or prior from 2019 to 2024, the number of abortions procured by state residents rose by 35%. The data is undeniable. Pro-life laws currently on the books have failed to reduce abortions. These laws have failed to save lives because they provide total legal immunity to the mothers who perpetrate abortions, allowing them to use abortion pills by exploiting this massive loophole. This bill would take the vital step forward by criminalizing abortion for everyone involved, making it the first anti-abortion law to actually ban abortion. However, this bill needs two amendments. First, the bill should legally classify abortion as murder by providing equal protection to preborn children. By capping the penalties at 30 years, this bill provides a lesser degree of protection to preborn children than that applied to born people, denying them equal protection. Unfortunately, this shows partiality in judgment, which God forbids, and is not compliant with the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Secondly, we recommend amending existing language prohibiting abortion after a, quote, diagnosable pregnancy to apply it instead at fertilization. The current language leaves children conceived in IVF unprotected. Millions of children are dying due to blatantly homicidal IVF practices, which include discarding children fertilized in vitro and even abortion after implantation through selective reduction. The IVF industry must treat human embryos with a proper standard of care. These children are created in the image of God and deserve equal protection too. Thank you very much for the time today. I urge you to pass this bill if these amendments are included. I'm happy to take any questions from the committee. See none. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, up next is Dr. Tyne Tyson.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tyne Olivia Tyson. I'm a doctor of internal medicine in my third year of residency. I'm speaking in opposition to Senate Bill 323. My views are my own and do not represent the views or opinions of my employer. While I oppose the current 6-week abortion ban on a fundamental level, today I would like to speak with you about the impact Bill 323 would have on the physician-patient relationship. This bill creates a felony charge for anybody who, quote, aids, abets, or conspires with a person seeking an abortion. This includes providing information on how to safely and legally obtain an abortion. This is a horrific breach of the sacred physician-patient relationship. Confidentiality is considered a, quote, fundamental tenet of medical care, and I am quoting the American College of Physicians Ethical Manual. 7th edition. As their doctor, my patients feel safe asking me about their worst fears and deepest secrets. People have asked me questions like, am I developing Alzheimer's? How do I know if I'm drinking too much? Are my children going to get this cancer too? And in the privacy of the clinic room, my patients can trust I'll provide them with honest information and help them get the care that they need. Within the framework of a confidential relationship, we can address these concerns together. They don't need to worry that I'm going to hold back information or violate their privacy. On the other hand, during my time working in the hospital, I can think of countless examples where proper treatment was delayed or patients endured unnecessarily invasive testing because they were terrified to disclose their social history to me. If passed, Bill 323 would create an environment where all people who can become pregnant would view their providers with mistrust and feel unsafe confiding in us. If Bill 323 became law, it would undermine the physician-patient relationship. If you value being able to turn to your provider in times of crisis and receive honest counsel, I ask you to vote against Bill 323. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Hayden Lay. Okay. Hayden Lay. Okay. Kylie Waldrop.
Good morning, Kylie Waldrop for the bill. Subcommittee members, again, my name is Kylie Waldrop. I serve as City Director of Love Life Greenville. We minister to moms and dads outside of the largest abortion center in South Carolina. Since 2020, we've seen over 100 moms choose life. Many of those are now involved in local churches being loved on by the body of Christ. We praise God for that. I also serve as pastor of Dominion Church in Anderson, South Carolina. And I come today from both of these capacities to urge you to do what the Word of God requires of you, to bring justice to the fatherless. The Word of God tells us that the civil magistrate, you, is to be a terror to the evildoer and a rewarder of righteousness. You, as legislators in South Carolina, have been given this duty by God, and you will answer first to Him. And I would encourage each of you today to think long and hard about this reality. Neither of you can divorce yourself from it. When you pass from life to death, you will stand before God and give an account not to your constituents, but to the God who requires of you to act justly. Our precious preborn neighbors are being slaughtered every single day, Monday through Thursday, in Greenville, South Carolina, and weekly in Columbia and Charleston. Our team are eyewitnesses every week to dozens of moms and dads who have appointments at Greenville Women's Clinic to have their preborn child murdered in cold blood. This is simply an atrocity, and it must stop. And we are calling you, as our civil magistrates, to put an end to it as God requires. We urge you to think long and hard on these things. We are praying for you, that you would, by the strength of God, do what's right simply because it's right. Senators, now is not the time to play politics. Lives are at stake, and God is watching. I would like to remind the committee that there are two former Republican senators in this room who are on the wrong side of this issue, and they are no longer senators. Establish equal protection and equal justice for our preborn neighbors, and do it now. In God's name, amen.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Sarah Frick. Sarah Frick. Okay. Professor Deborah Billings.
My name is Deborah Billings, and I am speaking in vehement opposition to this bill. I'm a public health professional, and I'm the mother of a teen who is educated in South Carolina public schools. I have spoken before these subcommittees for many years, told you about my miscarriages, et cetera, et cetera. This time I'm going to use my time to talk about the most egregious attack on our dignity and humanity, written as S-323. In the time that I have, I want to focus on Section 5 of S-323, a small but significant section that amends Section 59 3230 of the South Carolina Code, specifically referring to the 1988 Comprehensive Health Education Act, or CHIA. For several years, I was part of an effort to amend the CHIA to add the simple but significant clause that what is presented to our youth in schools, elementary through high school, is medically accurate. Common sense, right? That amendment was consistently rejected. And here's why this is significant. Section 5 of S323 would mandate the presentation of a high-quality computer-generated rendering or animation of the Meet Baby Olivia video created by Live Action, an extreme anti-abortion, anti-birth control, anti-IVF group whose agenda has no place in our taxpayer-funded schools. Section 5 also states that the Attorney General may bring civil action for a writ of mandamus to compel a public school district to comply with showing the video. There are no specifications for parents opting out of this content, an option that parents can now practice for the most basic educational content related to human growth and development. So much for parental rights, right? Something that many of you speak out about time and time again. If passed, Section 5 would be implemented in the 2026-2027 school year. In sum, our children and youth deserve accurate information, not indoctrination. Vote no on S323 if you respect South Carolinians and truly care about life.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Matt Brock.
Good morning. Matt Brock, Executive Director at Equal Protection South Carolina, speaking mostly in favor of the bill, but I'm not primarily here to speak for or against this bill, but rather to encourage you, to remind you, and to warn you. I want to encourage you to be bold, to be courageous, and to be consistent, and I would urge you to do that by amending this bill so that it treats every single human in the womb equally by affording them the same measures of protection and the same measures of justice that each of you and everyone behind me deserves this morning and enjoys this morning. S323 is certainly a step in the right direction, but it still falls short of providing equal protection and equal justice to our preborn neighbors. And so while you're going to hear a lot of people here today tell you that this bill goes too far, I'm here to tell you, according to the Word of God, S323 doesn't go far enough. I also want to remind you today that you are God's chosen ministers of justice, according to Romans 13. And as his ministers of justice, your primary concern should not be what your constituents think of you or whether you can keep your seat in the next election. Your primary concern should be, is God pleased with me in my duties according to what he has revealed to me in Scripture, and am I dealing with child sacrifice in the way that he has ordered me to do? Lastly, I want to warn you. The Bible says in Hebrews 9:27 that it's appointed for every man to die and then to be judged by God. You will hear a lot from people today that are going to do their best to get you to do what they want you to do. But here's the reality, friends. On that day, when you stand before God, not a single person in this room is going to stand with you. No one will be there to vouch for you. You will stand alone, and you will give an account for how you dealt with justice regarding these preborn image bearers in the womb legislatively. So I beg you today, as a minister of the gospel of your King and our King Jesus, do what is right, do what is just, and amend this bill accordingly to provide equal protection and equal justice to all preborn children from fertilization. God bless you.
Mr. Chairman, speaking next is Dr. Natalie Gregory with Jamie Henderson.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Natalie Gregory, a board-certified OBGYN, practicing in the Low Country of South Carolina since 2008. I graduated from medical school at MUSC in 2004, and for the past 18 years, I've dedicated my life to providing compassionate, comprehensive, evidence-based care to the women of South Carolina. I'm a preceptor for students at MUSC and at Presbyterian College. I'm also the only OBGYN on the Board of Medical Examiners in the state of South Carolina. and I'm here today to speak in strong opposition of Senate Bill 323. This bill is not only a significant waste of our time and taxpayer dollars, but it constitutes an unconstitutional reach that threatens the very fabric of health care in our state. Shame on Senators Cash, Rice, and Garrett for introducing this legislation. First and foremost, let's discuss the standard of care. As a dedicated OBGYN, I am faced with a legal minefield. The standard of care I am obligated to provide is in direct conflict with the law as it stands. Providing contraception, managing pregnancy loss, in vitro fertilization to grow families, or IUDs to prevent them. Discussion of any of these could have me charged with a homicide, 30 years in prison. Am I allowed to teach my students the normal female reproductive physiology and the pharmacokinetics of the medications that we use to manage those? I have a Hippocratic oath. I adhere to my own personal moral and ethical responsibilities, and I will not be able to comply with this law. My medical training does not allow it. We're already facing a shortage of OBGYNs in South Carolina, and it's untenable to expect quality medical professionals to practice in a climate where their careers and their freedom are at stake. What is your plan if we reach a point where there are no OBGYNs left to provide care? Your unconstitutional laws cannot erase my dedication to my patients. Already, access to critical information and care has been impeded. I have a patient standing here with me who was denied the care that she needed, not for an abortion, but for general health care, and abortion access is health care. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, next is Tammy Kale.
Good morning. My name is Tammy Kale, and I am in support of S323 this morning. As some of you may know, some of you may remember my face. I hope you do. I remember yours. I hope you don't forget this day. For those of you that don't know me or my story, my mother was a senior in high school when she found out she was pregnant. My father was just a few years older than her, and though he had quite a future ahead of him, he chose a path to be a rapist and a pedophile. I was conceived as a result of a horrible act of violence. To my knowledge, my father never served a day in jail for committing such a crime or for repeatedly preying on young girls. But because of the path that he chose, by the age of 46, he was found lying face down in a pool of blood, stabbed to death. Now, because I wasn't conceived in an honorable way, does not mean that my life is less honorable than yours or anybody else's. I'm currently a registered nurse. I am a Sunday school teacher. I am a missionary. I've traveled the world to bring health care and the Word of God to different people all around this world. And I'm here today because I've been labeled as a face for exceptions. And I can agree, but I am exceptional today, but not because of man's validation, but because of God's purpose in my life. What I'm about to say is this. It may seem old-fashioned, it may seem outdated, but it is true. These things are eternal. Your life and mine are so valuable that a man came to earth, gave his life, and died on a cross for every one of us today. Every one of us to sit in this room. And we have a job to do in this place. We must stand for life. The senseless killings of our babies, it has to stop. South Carolina, I'm asking you, stand up for our children. No more murders. No more murdering of our young. Save our future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Lacey Lane.
My name is Lacey Lane. I'm a mother, educator, and a constituent of Senator Michael Johnson, and I strongly oppose S-323. In 2017, I was pregnant with a wanted and planned second child. My pregnancy was going great until my anatomy scan around 18 and a half weeks. My OB had concerns, so he referred me to a maternal fetal medicine practice for a more extensive ultrasound. That night, my then almost 3-year-old son bit into a cupcake, revealing blue icing that announced to him, my husband, and I that we were expecting a boy. We named him Evan, and we hoped for good news at the ultrasound appointment. Unfortunately, we received devastating news. Our baby boy Evan had a rare neural tube defect that caused his brain to grow out through a hole in the back of his skull in a sac of skin, causing multiple brain anomalies. We had 2 heartbreaking options. We could terminate the pregnancy, or we could carry to term, not knowing when he would most likely die in utero or in palliative care shortly after birth. We were informed that we had to make that decision quickly due to the 20-week ban that was in place at the time. After much discussion with additional medical specialists and my husband, I chose to have a second trimester abortion. I chose to end the pregnancy to avoid the possibility of my baby knowing only a short life outside of my body filled with pain. Being forced to carry to term under today's laws would have caused unimaginable emotional harm, rippling out to my family, friends, and the students that I served. I'm grateful that abortion was an option. In 2019, we welcomed our rainbow baby, and he was born strong and healthy. This is my abortion story. I don't believe in a hierarchy of reasons for abortion. Every circumstance is unique, personal, and nobody's business. No one should have this personal medical decision made for them by politicians. Abortion is health care, and abortion bans hurt families like mine. I'm a loving mother, not a murderer. I urge you to vote no on S-323. And please understand, this isn't about you, your religion, your personal beliefs, and it's especially not about your next election. This is about basic healthcare rights in our state, so please just do better. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next is Mark Baumgartner. Okay. Carrie Gifford.
I'm Carrie Gifford from Greenville. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We've all heard the talking points on this issue, so I want to offer something different for my 2 minutes, a powerful solution that neither side has fully embraced, but that I think can bring more healing and unity to all of us than we realize. Names for this are knowledge-based fertility appreciation, natural family planning, restorative reproductive medicine, charting, and various methods such as Creighton, naprotechnology, and Billings. This is a new field of medicine for the healing and health of women's and men's reproductive systems and for natural ways to avoid and achieve pregnancy. It is effective, healthier, cheaper, and easier than currently dominant artificial methods. These artificial methods to avoid and achieve pregnancy result in physical, relational, emotional, and moral problems. For example, hormonal artificial birth control has been shown to increase the risk for breast cancer and blood clots and can be abortifacient. IVF has resulted in millions of destroyed and indefinitely frozen embryos worldwide, and it does not heal men's and women's bodies, as does restorative reproductive medicine. Aren't we all tired of the fake? Don't we all want to be who we really are and be accepted as such by others? Are we not all beautiful the way we are? Do we not all want to be healthy and healed and as free of medicine and surgeries as possible? Do we want to understand and respect the workings of our and our partners' bodies? Why are women willing to alter their hormones and risk their health for men? This is not equitable nor equality. I hope more people will embrace the beautiful opportunity knowledge-based fertility appreciation and restorative reproductive medicine gives us to bring unity and respect to relationships, healing to bodies, and agreement to opposing sides of the abortion issue. I would like to submit these materials and my contact information for the record. I will mail any of these materials to anyone on the committee who requests. Thank you. Who do I give these to?
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Mayra Rivera Vasquez.
Good morning, buenos días. My name is Mayra Rivera Vasquez. I'm here for the opposition. And thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Mayra Rivera Vasquez, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Latino community in South Carolina about the proposed abortion ban. Latinos make up more than 369,000 people of this state's population, and we are a young, growing part of the workforce and community. But our families face structural disadvantages that leave us especially vulnerable when health care is restricted. Latina women face some of the steepest wage gaps in the state, especially because so many work in service jobs without benefits like paid sick leave or flexible schedules. Combined with language barriers, these inequalities already make health care harder to reach. Against this backdrop, an abortion ban would inflict severe harm. It would deepen economic strain on families who cannot afford long travel, child care, or time off work, especially in the 14 counties that have no OBYN at all. Most dangerously, it would worsen maternal health. South Carolina already faces rising maternal mortality, and Hispanic women here are dying at higher rates than white women. In 2021, pregnancies-related deaths in our state spiked nearly 50% in a single year. Denying or delaying abortion care will only make this crisis worse. The Latino community is part of South Carolina's future. We work hard, raise families, and contribute to every corner of the state. This ban would magnify every disparity we already face, economic, educational, and health, and put more women at risk of preventable harm. I urge you to reject this legislation and instead work toward policies that expand access to care, improve maternal health, and support the dignity and well-being of all South Carolina families. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before I introduce the next speaker, let me say that the speakers list is now on the console that each subcommittee member has. If the print is a bit too small, you can just widen it with the use of your fingers. Two lists, for and against. Next speaker is Raymond Mulholland.
I am Raymond Mulholland, and I am from Simpsonville, South Carolina. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak today. Much of the testimony you have heard and will continue to hear is about how difficult life is for the parent, and I am not without compassion for their challenges, as I have had my own. I fought for and won custody of my children. That was not easy. I never got child support from the mother, even though the courts did not see fit to send a deadbeat parent into jail in this particular case. That wasn't easy, but there were those who helped me. Now that my children are grown, I'm repaying this help forward. I spend nearly all my free time working with agencies that provide adoption services, medical care, financial assistance, education, housing, and food support, and even abortion regret counseling. I'm also chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party's Pro-Life Committee, and I do all this on my own dime as well as my own time. But I'm not here to compare my problems and challenges with the others. That is a pointless pursuit. I'm here to challenge anyone who thinks that my pro-life stance is wrong and that abortion should be allowed. If I can be convinced that my conviction is wrong, then I will walk away from all of this. Simply put, I am convinced that innocent human life should be protected. If I can be shown that this child has committed a capital offense, then I will walk away from all my pro-life activities. If I can be convinced that a being with human DNA is not a human, then I will walk away from all my pro-life activities. And if I can be convinced that all the biology books ever written are wrong and that something as small as a single cell is not a form of life, then I will walk away from all my pro-life activities. If you are unable to convince me that I am wrong, then what option is left but to push S323 forward? Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, next is Mallory Dittmer.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Mallory Dittmer, and I'm here to urge you to oppose Senate Bill 323. I'm a wife, a mother, a proud Christian, and with a painfully ordinary story and perspective. I have a hormonal IUD, not because I'm reckless or irresponsible, but because without it, I suffer debilitating menstrual migraines that leave me unable to work or care for my family. And I'm not alone. Millions of women use contraceptives for chronic medical conditions. My IUD is not controversial, it's health care. But bills like this one turn my medical needs into a moral debate and blur lines that should be very clear. Healthcare decisions belong between a patient and a doctor, not a patient and a legislature. And like millions of women, I have also relied on emergency contraception. In college, I used Plan B, not after a romantic evening, but after a night I did not ask for, where a young man made a reckless decision that could have changed my life forever. I should not have to reveal that trauma, just like so many of the women who have revealed much worse traumas today. But that is what legislation like this forces women to do, justify our privacy, our pain, and our protection. My story is not dramatic or extreme, it is run-of-the-mill. And that is exactly why this bill is so dangerous, because legislation like S323 doesn't just affect a rare handful of people, it affects everyday responsible citizens like me who are doing everything in our power to protect our health, our dignity, and our future. Senate Bill 323 will not stop unplanned pregnancies. It will not stop assault. It will not stop tragedy. What it will do is punish responsible people. For my daughter and all the women and girls across our state, I ask you to please vote no on S323. And as a quick aside, as a proud Christian, I would like to remind the committee and everyone here that our nation practices the separation of church and state because we stand for freedom of religion and we recognize that religion is subjective. There are 45,000 different denominations of Christianity alone because leaders of the faith cannot decide on exactly what the Bible says. Anyone who tells you they know exactly what God means and what God says, I would be careful to listen to. Their ego is bigger than their faith. Thank you.
Next is Heather Scholler.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Heather. I'm from the upstate. I'm speaking today in favor of Senate Bill 323. I am a Christian, and I appeal to you on the authority of Scripture, which, as Noah Webster declared, ought to form the basis of all our civil constitutions and laws. God's word is clear. You shall not murder. Civil government exists to restrain evil and protect the innocent. And there is no class of people more innocent, more voiceless, and more vulnerable than the preborn. This committee has been entrusted with authority by the people, but you are also accountable to God. Ecclesiastes 12:13 proclaims, "Fear God and keep his commands, for this is the whole duty of man." Advancing this bill is a step toward fulfilling that duty, upholding life, defending the defenseless, and bringing our laws into greater alignment with the justice of God. Roe v. Wade is gone. You no longer have an excuse. The responsibility now rests on you. So I challenge you, will you fear God and defend life, or will you turn away and answer for innocent blood? History will record your vote, but heaven will judge it. Advance Senate Bill 323.
Next speaker, Katie Rutland.
Good morning, Senators. Thank you for hearing my testimony today. My name is Katie Rutland, and I am a mother, a follower of Jesus, and a lifelong South Carolinian. And I need you to understand this bill is an affront to the rights of people in this state. This bill stifles our rights to free speech, privacy, and to make medical decisions that are aligned with our faith and values. This bill does not support families and children. Please vote no on this disastrous, harmful bill, S323. This is your chance to be the leaders we need. Don't legislate with an angry, punitive heart. Instead, choose courage and be known for how well you love your neighbors, rather than how you persecute them and their doctors. If you want to reduce abortions and support families, there are proven strategies on how to do that. Offer comprehensive, age-appropriate sex and health education that isn't just taught once in 12 years, but is an ongoing conversation with students and young people. Offer free, all-option birth control for all people in the state. Expand Medicaid so more women can access the gynecological health care they need. Offer incentives for OBGYNs to practice medicine in one of our 14 counties that don't have one. Offer paid parental leave for all workers within our state who welcome new children into their homes. Provide free school lunches for all public school students. Offer free or reduced price childcare for all families until their children can enter free universal preschool. Please do what Jesus asked and love your neighbors who don't want to have their rapist baby, your neighbors whose bodies are too small or sick to safely carry and deliver a child, your neighbors who don't want their very desired child to only know a short, painful life, your neighbors who believe life begins at first breath and whose religion puts the life of the pregnant mother above all else. Your neighbors who want to treat their patients and their pregnancies without fear of jail time if they make a call that a bunch of lawmakers without medical training don't like or understand. Please legislate with love for your neighbors or put it on the ballot and let the people of this state decide. Thank you.
Next is Millie Lanes.
Good morning. I'm Latina. I'm on support S323. My name is Millie. I was born in Cuba. I grew up watching the government rewrite reality, calling injustice freedom, and labeling people less than human whenever it served their purpose. In Cuba, abortion is treated as normal. The law there doesn't protect life or moral values. It protects power. I never imagined that I could face the same kind of dissection here in America, especially in a moment as sacred as motherhood. I had 2 abortions there. I didn't question it. I was deeply ignorant. I was deceived by the idea that the unborn children are no person. I believed it was my right, my choice, my freedom. But no one told me the truth. No one told me my children has brain activity. No one told me their heart were beating. Even though I was misled, I take full responsibility for what I did. To this day, I live with the consequences. The depression, anxiety that follow those abortions are still heavy. But even deeper than that, I carry a profound emptiness, a silence, a missing part of me that I still have to face it and live it with. I carry my children's memory with me, with love and sorrow. They were mine. They were alive. And I believe each of them has a purpose, a life designed by God, a mission that was never fulfilled. S323 matters because it draws a line. This is not just about a law. It's about dignity. It's about truth. It's about protecting the most vulnerable among us. I don't speak to shame anyone. I speak because I know the pain of believing in a lie. And I speak because I believe South Carolina could do better. We can protect women with truth, and we can protect children with love. And we can honor God by defending life and families. I forgave myself. I believe God forgave me, and I believe my children forgave me too. But I will never forget, and I will never stop speaking for those who cannot speak. Thank you.
Next is Kelly Sharkey.
Hello. My name is Kelly Sharkey, and I am opposed to Bill 323. This is my daughter, Sienna. She is 8 months old. She's a joy. She has completed our family, and I'm asking you, is her life important to you? Because she's here today because I was able to access an abortion during a doomed pregnancy over 2 years ago. And I was only able to find that care because of other women. In 2023, when I was 13 weeks pregnant, I learned that the baby I was carrying had severe abnormalities and would not survive. My doctors scheduled a procedure, but just 2 days before that operation, South Carolina passed a 6-week abortion ban. Suddenly, my doctor could no longer help me. I felt completely abandoned until I turned to a virtual postpartum support group that I had joined during COVID when I had my first son, Michael. The women in that group, many from outside South Carolina, connected me with a clinic in Maryland. Because of them, I found care. Because of them, I was able to move forward. And because of them, my daughter, Sienna, is alive today. Ever since sharing my story, women across South Carolina have reached out to me with their own pregnancy losses. I've supported them in ways that women once supported me. Talking openly, connecting, and helping one another has been essential to our healing. But Senate Bill 323 threatens to make even that a crime. This bill says that it would be illegal to help a woman by telephone, internet, or any other mode of communication access abortion care. This law doesn't just ban abortion, it silences women, criminalizes support, and isolates us in our darkest moments. No one plans to be in my position. Nobody wants this. But when tragedy strikes, women deserve compassion, community, and dignity, not criminalization. I urge you to vote no on Senate Bill 323. Thank you.
Next is Mrs. J.H. Hartnett.
Good morning. I'm here to speak, and I'm for this bill. This is a good bill. We need boundaries. We've lost our way if we don't have boundaries. The state has boundaries. Our property has boundaries. If we don't have boundaries, people encroach, come take over. We have to live with North Carolina, taking over South Carolina. This bill provides boundaries, draws a line in the sand, helps people to know the difference between what is acceptable and unacceptable. If you've read this, which I don't think a lot of these folks have, it covers taking care of people that are in situations that can be horrific. The psychological, it does not cover. The drug abuse, it doesn't cover. There's certain things this bill does cover. It's a good bill. We need strong boundaries so people know the law. Problem with law has too many words, nobody understands it. How can I understand something if it's not cut and dry, simplified? Like, there is a life in the womb. There is a life in the womb. Our Constitution states plainly and clearly, and always has, right to life. And anyone that wants to take and twist that is confused and bedamned. That's all I have to say. cover the laws we already have. Stand behind what is right and just. And it's just to protect the innocent, the life in the womb. Thank you.
Next speaker, Danny Basin.
My name is Danny Basin, and I am in mortal opposition to S323. While I am not a woman, I was once capable of pregnancy. When my now spouse and I started dating, we agreed we never wanted children. One night, I started bleeding profusely. My spouse carried me into the emergency room as I screamed in pain. Unfortunately, we were informed that I was one of the 0.9% of people whose IUD fails. My now ex-gynecologist told me that I was having a threatened spontaneous abortion, which is colloquially known as being at medical risk of a miscarriage. By the time I got to my dilation and curettage, my uterus was so distended with blood that the Planned Parenthood doctor thought I was a full week ahead of where I was. The embryo was a small dot in a sea of fluid on the legally mandated ultrasound. The nurses were shocked when the abortion revealed that the majority of this blood was dead. This pregnancy probably would have caused a uterine infection, and given how challenging uterine infections are to treat, my originally elective abortion became life-saving. None of us knew this until after the abortion was done. An elective abortion that is now illegal is the reason I am standing here today. The same people pushing this sort of legislation go on and on about life, but they don't put the same energy into free prenatal care. They don't put the same energy into free postpartum care. They don't put the same energy into access to food, healthcare, or safe schools. No. All they care about is that every single pregnancy goes on as long as it can. The pregnant person be damned. Abortion is not only women's rights, it is men's rights, children's rights, people's rights, human rights. We are not your broodmares. We are not your incubators. We are lives. Vote no on S323 in favor of our lives. And a reminder that this is not a theocratic country.
Next speaker is Tiffany Matthews.
Thank you, Honorable Committee. I'm Tiffany Matthews in favor of amending the bill. Over 50 years of desensitizing mothers into willingly sacrificing their babies on the altar of lust and selfishness increases remorseless post-abortion parties shouting their abortions and satanic rituals. Unjust laws desensitize others into having biological children through the eugenic lab rat destruction of 93% of their children. Because there are plenty of testimonies of preborn human babies communicating with their mothers, which confirms their personhood from fertilization, and because the grief work of families of miscarried and stillborn babies is hindered by laws that desensitize society to the life of the preborn, join me and repent of supporting 3 years of post-Roe compromise bills. I can support this bill if it is amended to restore impartial judgment and treat the murder of preborn human persons like the homicide of born persons are treated, and if it restores equal protection to all preborn human persons beginning at fertilization. If Susan Smith's punishment was justified, how can you still deny the same type of justice for the innocent preborn children of too many remorseless women? I pray that you overcome your fear of the abortion lobby, IVF lobby, and established pro-life lobby with a greater fear of God and obey Him more than man. Yom Kippur, the Day of Judgment, starts tonight. I beg of you to remember that the clear instruction from the Creator to choose life and blessings far outweighs all of the opinions you'll hear today. Please amend the bill and seal for yourselves a good year. Thank you. I have handouts.
Next speaker is Cora Webb.
Cora Webb, and I am against the boundary, quote unquote, of S323. I am against the banning of routine and medically necessary procedures, such as abortions. I'm mostly against the begging and groveling for access to health care. To Senators Cash, Wright, and Garrett, fuck you. You bitches are demonic and ruining lives and sentencing folks to bleed out on a cold table.
Mr. Chairman, the next person on the opposition list would be Chambers Austell. Okay. Next person after that would be Megan Provost.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Megan Provost. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in South Carolina, and I am a mother to 3 living children. I'm coming to you today not only as a professional whom women trust with their most painful and private stories, but also as a woman who has lived through the heartbreak and total devastation of miscarriage. In my career, I have worked with hundreds of women in their childbearing years. For both of my miscarriages, my doctors prescribed medication that is safe, effective, and recommended by ACOG and the World Health Organization. That medication protected me. It spared me infection, invasive surgeries, and death. Without it, I might not be here raising the children I love today. The consequences of some miscarriage is death. This bill would strip families of the same care I received. I want to be clear. Women are not making these decisions lightly. They are not seeking late-term abortions. These women are mothers, daughters, wives, and sisters, facing devastating pregnancy losses or life-threatening complications. Often they are choosing this path because they want to survive, to mother the children that they already have, or to preserve their chance of having children in the future. Abortion care saves lives. As a therapist, I have sat with many women grieving miscarriages, and I have seen the relief that comes when safe, evidence-based care is available. My children have a mother today because I had access to safe medical care for an abortion. The women of South Carolina need these very medications that you wish to criminalize to protect their life and dignity. Women will die as a direct result of this bill.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Your
time is up. Your time is up. Thank you.
Next speaker is Reverend Mark Wills. Reverend Wills. Okay. John Asher. John Asher. Linda Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick. Okay. David Kuhn. Reverend Dr. Aaron Tripp.
Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm Dr. Aaron Tripp, and I am for S323. I grew up in South Carolina. I'm a graduate of South Carolina Governor School for Science and Math and the College of Charleston. I pastored Edgefield First Baptist Church for 9 years. We have provided hundreds of beds and food and clothing for many needy families in our communities because we believe that all men are created equal. However, we know that many of the men who wrote that document did not live up to it. Many of them held slaves. They reconciled this contradiction by stating that this document was aspirational and that they hoped future generations would live up to the standard. I pray that we are that generation. They had two primary reasons for not recognizing the equality of African Americans they were trading. Number one, they believed they would lose their standard of living, and that was too much of a price to pay for someone else to truly live and enjoy the rights of life, liberty, and happiness. Number two, they believed for arbitrary reasons these people were not possessing of personhood. We find ourselves facing the same horrors today with the same arguments. Number one, some claim as abortion is a right because removing it would subject a young woman to the hardships of raising a child she may not have wanted. However, we know that 98% of abortions are not cases of rape or incest. They are abortions of convenience, as according to the research. A child is not an inconvenience. Number two, opponents of this law claim that the baby is not capable of this or that or the other arbitrary law firm. But we know a 2004 federal law, the Unborn Victims of Violence Act, defines a fetus in any stage of development as a member of the Homo sapiens species and recognizes its personhood. If a pregnant woman is killed, it's double homicide. The woman and the unborn child count as persons. Additionally, if only the fetus is harmed, the attacker can still be charged with the crime of murder. Why would it be any different if the woman chooses to kill the child? The person committing the crime is irrelevant. A crime is a crime and murder is murder. No one is above the law. All those involved should be punished. I pray we do the right thing here today. I pray we honor our Creator and live up to that aspirational reality that all men are created equal. And once fertilization has happened, we have a human being with distinct DNA, and they are our neighbors. Thank you.
Next speaker, Sarah Wilson.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Wilson, and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner specializing in child abuse. Almost every day, I take care of some of our state's most vulnerable children, those who have experienced sexual abuse, incest, and rape. I myself have had multiple patients as young as 12 years old who have become pregnant as a result of rape. My colleagues have had patients as young as 10. The medical risks of pregnancy are significant. Young pregnant children have increased risk of high blood pressure, increased risk of infection, severe bleeding, premature delivery, and C-sections, which is major abdominal surgery. All of these can result in permanent injury or death. The risks here are not theoretical. South Carolina ranks 8th highest in the nation for pregnancy-related deaths. In 2024 alone, life-threatening complications during delivery affected over 1,000 women in South Carolina. And when considering the prevalence of sexual abuse among children in our state, last year, South Carolina's Child Advocacy Centers provided care to over 5,000 patients whose primary trauma was sexual abuse. My patients are not numbers. They are not hypotheticals. These are real children who are sitting in my exam room, scared and hurt, and looking for adults to protect them. As a nurse practitioner, I can treat medical complications, but I cannot undo the trauma of rape or the trauma of being forced to carry a pregnancy that their bodies are too young and too small to endure. These children did not choose what happened to them, but you have the choice, and you have the ability to choose to protect them. For my patients and for the children of South Carolina, I respectfully urge you to vote against S323. Thank you.
Next speaker is Annette Burgess. Annette Burgess. Okay. Crystal Reed. Crystal Reed?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, she's coming.
Is there any chance that some of these people are on the overflow room? How do we know? The security was trying to admit them to this room. That's the way the people are being seated.
Crystal Reed, speaking for S323.
Excuse me. Can you step a little closer? We can't hear you.
Crystal Reed, speaking for S323. Today is October 1st, which begins Respect Life Month. Thank you for bringing this before us and the opportunity to speak. My name is Crystal Reed, and I am a resident of Sumter County, South Carolina. I am a Christian, wife, mother, homeschool teacher, and sidewalk counselor. I am here to exhort you to put forward S323. My husband and I have 6 children, but to be more specific, we have 2 living children. Our other 4 children died during the first trimester, one of which was an ectopic pregnancy, which is provided for in this bill. All 6 of our children were created in the image of God, were prayed for, and all of them have names. Years later, I still carry stem cells from each of these children in my body, but I still carry the grief of those losses of the children. But ultimately, the great physician is healing me. God's law prohibits the premeditated, unlawful, and unjust taking of human life. Exodus 20. God appoints governing authorities to carry out his wrath on wrongdoers. Romans 13. Abortion is murder, and our governments must seek justice and correct oppression. Isaiah 1. Opponents say we must not prosecute pregnant women who get an abortion, but this is an injustice to the mother as well as the child. The law is a tutor intended to drive us to the Lord. Galatians 3. If the mother remains ignorant of the eternal consequences of taking a human life, then she will not flee to the salvation found in Christ alone. We are currently denying these women the gospel. Opponents also say we must not remove the exceptions for rape and incest. However, we must not punish children for the sins of their fathers. Rapists should be executed. Deuteronomy 22. Abortion, even in this context, is still the unjust taking of human life. People will claim that I am just pro-birth and charge that I would not adopt these children from these unholy unions. To that, I testify that my husband and I are, in fact, approved to adopt, and our home is open to any child threatened with abortion.
Your time is up. Thank you.
May I close with South Carolina's motto, Dum, Spiro, Spero. While I breathe, I hope. Please make today a moment of hope for all South Carolina babies.
Is Chris Allison.
Good morning. I'm Chris Allison, and I'm from Simpsonville. And today I've taken a day off from work to do something I've never done before, and that's to come down here to Columbia and to give my testimony against this bill. I do so because I feel it's unconstitutional and un-American. I can't believe that this committee would suggest that they consider a bill that would ban talking about a subject like abortion. I can't believe that this committee would study and consider a bill that would force a rape victim to continue a pregnancy that she does not want. I can't believe that this committee would also consider a bill that would threaten infertile couples with not being able to use IVF. This bill is just horrible on so many levels, it's almost unfathomable. So I can encourage you all to put this thing in the nearest paper shredder immediately, to be honest with you. You can do so much better. This state has a lot of problems when it comes to maternal and infant mortality. Why aren't we doing something about that? Why aren't you guys doing something about that instead? Please, again, I encourage you to dismiss this bill, do away with it, do something more productive for our citizens in this state. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.
Next is Jeff Reed.
Good morning. Thank you, Honorable Chairman and distinguished members of the subcommittee, for the opportunity to speak in strong support of S323. My name is Jeff Reed Jr. As a follower of Christ, husband, father, IT geek from Sumter, I urge you to pass this vital legislation, which recognizes the inherent dignity of every human life from conception. From a Christian perspective, Scripture is clear on the sanctity of life. Psalm 139, that God knit us together in our mother's womb, fearfully and wonderfully made. Jeremiah 1:5 affirms, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, emphasizing that life begins with a divine purpose, not human convenience. These verses compel us to protect the unborn as image bearers of God, without exception. Secular evidence aligns with this truth. Biologically, life begins at fertilization, when a unique human DNA blueprint is formed, distinct from the mother's. A 2021 survey of over 5,500 biologists found 96% affirmed this. By week 3, a heartbeat emerges. By week 8, brainwaves are detectable. Organizations like the American College of Pediatricians affirm that human life is a continuum from conception, grounded in embryology and genetics, not politics. Opponents claim bodily autonomy justifies abortion, but this ignores the science. The unborn child is a separate human with her own body and rights. The right to life is foundational. Without it, no other rights exist. Claims of health care ring hollow when abortion ends a life, not heals one. And on the economic burdens, pro-life studies show support systems like pregnancy centers reduce hardship far better than elimination of the child. On a personal note, my family has had the pleasure of doing some fundraising for pregnancy centers in Sumter and interacting with some of the mothers. I've seen the centers provide aid that turns hardship into hope. Regarding the removal of rape and incest exceptions, while these harms are horrific and justice for the victims are demanded, the child conceived is innocent. The Guttmacher Institute shows that cases are rare in these situations, under 1%, but even one life matters. Exceptions undermine the bill's core principles. In closing, S323 honors our shared humanity. Pass it to be righteously consistent. Pass it to protect the vulnerable. Pass it for the full gospel of life and God's glory. Thank you again for allowing us to share our voice and for your time.
Next will be Jessica Kneft. Jessica Kneft. Okay. Christina Eisenhower.
Good morning. My name is Christina Eisenhower, and I'm in opposition to this bill. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'm a lifelong South Carolinian and a resident of Lexington County. As I said, I strongly oppose this bill. Before our son Jacob was born, my husband and I were pregnant with twin boys in 2017. When I was 22 weeks pregnant, we discovered medical complications that required me to be hospitalized to prevent early labor, as the healthcare professionals understood that they would not likely survive at that early age. While in the hospital, we consulted with many medical professionals, maternal fetal medicine doctors, OBGYNs, and incredible NICU doctors. We were so grateful for the guidance that those medical professionals gave us during that time, and in fact, I don't remember ever having the desire to contact an unqualified politician or an unqualified pastor to tell me how to make healthcare decisions for my body and the life of my boys. These healthcare professionals offered guidance that gave us, the parents of these beautiful boys, the power to choose their care. This gave us, in essence, for our situation, the power to choose how our sons would experience the very last moments, the very last breaths of their life. Had this bill been a law at that time, it would have required doctors to subject me and those two boys, who, mind you, were only 1 pound each at the time, to torturous procedures that likely would have still resulted in their deaths. Instead of being able to say goodbye to them in the peaceful, pain-free manner that we were allowed to, their deaths could have been traumatic and painful. This bill is an abomination, written by legislators with no medical qualifications, and it is the peak of hypocrisy because it is written and provided by legislators who claim to be for personal choice, and yet it strips parents of the most important, precious choice that they have. It is a lie that this bill is about the protection of life. It is about controlling the most private moments of our lives. I implore you to oppose this bill.
Next speaker, Katrina Lopez.
I'm Katrina Lopez from Easley, South Carolina, and I am for this bill. A few years ago, I became pregnant with my third child. The first ultrasound showed that all was normal and the pregnancy proceeded happily until I was 7 months along. At that checkup, I was sent to the hospital because they feared something was wrong with the baby. After a flurry of tests and scans, a group of doctors and nurses came into my room. With a solemn air of bringing a sentence of death, they told me that the baby had a heart condition and would be disabled. This was news, but not as bad as they portrayed. I would love my little girl no matter what condition she had. What did surprise me was how they wanted to know who did the ultrasound and wanted to get a hold of him. Why didn't they catch her condition then? This could have been avoided. You would have had more choices if you'd known. I could have made the choice to end the child's life is what they meant. This made me realize that whether knowingly or unknowingly, women were getting scared and pressured to kill their disabled children before they even had a chance to live. It broke my heart, and it still does. The Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these is life. It is a scientific fact that life begins at conception. At this point in time, we can even go on YouTube and watch a sperm fertilize the egg. When it does, there is a flash of light and life begins. That life has its own unique set of DNA. It's not part of the mother, though it is dependent on her. No mother should be allowed to murder her child at any stage in South Carolina. No mother should be allowed to murder her disabled child in South Carolina. And no mother should be allowed to murder the child for the sins of the father. As a South Carolinian, I ask that you put an end to the murder of innocent children.
Next is Kelly Waldron. Kelly Waldron, okay. Lauren Williams. Lauren Williams, okay. Emily Mayer. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm advised that Ms. Mayer had deferred to Senator Shealy to speak in this spot.
Thank you, committee, for allowing me to speak. I'm here in opposition of S 323, the Unborn Child Protection Act. Senate Bill S 323 is a dangerous piece of legislation that threatens the health and safety and fundamental rights of South Carolina's women, girls, and families. This bill is built on punitive measures, not compassion. It promises to unleash a wave of negative consequences that will ripple through our communities for generations. This bill's most jarring and cruel aspect is a complete removal of exceptions for rape and incest. It sends a chilling message to victims and their trauma and bodily autonomy are irrelevant. By forcing a survivor to carry a pregnancy to term from a heinous crime, the state inflicts further trauma and strips them of their fundamental right to control their own bodies and futures. This provision stands in stark opposition to the principles of justice and human dignity. This bill's provisions threatens to criminalize health care itself by redefining terms and removing protections. It puts doctors in an impossible position, forcing them to choose between their medical oath and their new criminal penalties. A chilling effect will be created where doctors may hesitate to provide standard care out of a fear of prosecution for the accidental or unintentional death of an unborn child. This will drive talented medical professionals away from our state and endanger the health of pregnant women and their children. The repeal of the judicial bypass process is a direct assault on the safety of minors. The vital process currently allows viable young persons to seek a judge's permission for an abortion if they cannot safely involve their parents, who may be their perpetrator. Removing this option forces a minor to seek either a dangerous back alley procedure or carry a pregnancy to term against her will, potentially causing her to remain in a perilous environment. This policy, I'm going to take my senatorial privilege here. This policy prioritizes a political agenda over a child's well-being and safety. The bill introduces...
Excuse me. Your time is up.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say something because my name was invoked earlier, and I'm going to go over here, and I want to remind each of you that y'all were elected to do what is right, not what will get you reelected. And since these gentlemen reminded me that I was not reelected, I want to remind y'all that I did the right thing on a legislation just like this, and I see security coming to get me, but I'm going to sit down. But thank y'all for allowing me to speak.
Next speaker is Becca Wise.
Good morning, Senators. My name is Becca Wise, and I am in support of the S323 bill. My name is Becca, and I serve as the Outreach Coordinator for Flourish Adoption Ministries in Greenville. I'm here today in support of Bill 323. Today you have heard and will continue to hear testimonies emphasizing the right to choose. I am not here to argue against that right. I too believe women facing unwanted or unplanned pregnancies should have an alternative choice to parenting. However, I support this bill in full because maintaining the right to choose is not dependent upon maintaining the right or the access to abortion. Private open adoption provides women who cannot or do not wish to parent the same choice not to, without elevating the right of one human life over another. Private adoption is not foster care. With our agency, it is a process that meets the physical, financial, and emotional needs of mothers, emphasizing and supporting their voice throughout. It allows the mother to choose the family her child will grow up in, the level of openness she desires, and the relationship she hopes to maintain in the future, if any. Our agency has walked with women through cases of rape and teen pregnancy. Time and again, I have witnessed healing and hope take root where despair seemed permanent. Adoption is a path that provides the same right to choose, but does so in a way by meeting the needs of the mother and then paving a way for an innocent life, creating a lifetime of opportunity versus a lifetime of possible regret. I ask you today to recognize that passing this bill does not limit a woman's right to choose, but actually supports the exact same right in a life-affirming way. I urge you to pass Bill 323, and in doing so, influence a stronger, more life-giving future for South Carolina women, children, and families. Thank you.
Next is Katie McCravey. Katie McCravey? Okay. Meg Southern Sims.
Good morning. I'm Meg Southern Sims. I'm here to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 323. I'm a resident of Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm a new mom to a 5-year-old baby girl. I spent the entire 9 months of my pregnancy terrified that something would go wrong and I would not be able to get life-saving treatment in South Carolina. I'm very lucky that my pregnancy and delivery were healthy and very normal, but my experience certainly wasn't typical. For most of my friends in South Carolina, all registered voters, pregnancy and childbirth have posed significant physical and financial challenges. For my friend Lauren, a very wanted, long-anticipated pregnancy ended in a miscarriage that required an abortion. For my friends Lindsay and Roxy and Heather, parenthood has only been possible through IVF. For my friends Kate and Kim, IUDs have been vital. Senate Bill 323 removes access to resources that have saved my friends' lives and made their beautiful families possible. When I think of the impact this bill would have, I imagine my friends' faces disappearing from Christmas cards and Thanksgiving tables. I hear myself telling friends in other states, don't move here, it's too dangerous. I hear myself telling my husband, you'd better schedule a vasectomy, it's too risky to get pregnant again. I hear myself telling my daughter, you can't stay in South Carolina. It's not safe to be a girl here. Senate Bill 323 would be more accurately titled the Female Endangerment Act. Rather than protecting life, all this bill actually does is endanger the lives of women and girls who have already been born, who have memories and favorite colors and ambitions and best friends and families who love them. Senate Bill 323 endangers the lives of women and girls like me, like my friends, like my daughter, and also the lives of your friends and wives and daughters and sisters. You must reject this bill. Thank you.
Next is Angela Eustace.
Good morning. My name is Angela Eustace, and I am here in support of S323. Mr. Chairman and committee members, thank you so much for your time today. I have come today in support of Senate Bill 323. In our great state of South Carolina, we have been given the opportunity to protect life. We have shown that we do value life with legislation, but that we can do better. Women and babies are not enemies. Women are the only way new people come into the world, which is biologically true and a great responsibility. Unfortunately, in our country, we have led mothers to think that she has a choice to make when she becomes pregnant. We have endorsed abandoning her by legislation to make abortion an option. Abortion is the intentional killing of a baby in her mother's womb. Without the right to life, we have no rights. Where do our rights come from? In our Constitution, we declare that our rights come from God. We say in our Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, and a prayer is also said when the Senate begins the session. What does this mean? It means that we believe that our rights come from God. Since our rights come from God, we have written laws that are in accord with the law. Sorry, I have sticky fingers. In accordance with the law that He has written on our hearts. Laws are made to protect life, liberty, and property. We can clearly see when life begins. We have the responsibility to protect all life, especially in the womb. We must not discriminate against babies because of their age, size, location, or level of dependency. This is a matter of civil and moral importance. I have been told by a former senator that you cannot legislate morality. However, every law does just that. In fact, laws that are broken...
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Oh, sorry.
Next is Christine DeVries.
Hi, my name is Christine DeVries, and I'm speaking against the bill. Thank you, members of the committee. I've spent over 40 years working on women's health policy, focusing on maternal health, reproductive health, older adult health, mental illness, reducing disparities in the healthcare system. I urge you to reject S323 because it would worsen health outcomes for the women and families across this state. Let me share the reality in our state. In 2021, South Carolina's pregnancy-related mortality rate jumped to 47 deaths per 10,000 lives, up from 32 the year before. Black women in our state are nearly twice as likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause as white women, and rural mothers face even greater risk, and more than 1 in 5 women in South Carolina receive inadequate prenatal care. Over half of our counties are medically underserved, and nearly 40% are maternity care deserts. The evidence is clear. Abortion bans make these problems worse. States with bans of higher maternal mortality rates, women of color suffer the greatest harm. For women in South Carolina counties with no OBGYNs, deaths caused by the ban can mean the difference between life and death in emergencies like hemorrhage, ectopic pregnancy, or preeclampsia. The bill will increase delays in care, limit treatment for medical emergencies, and deepen the disparities we see, especially for Black, rural women, and low-income women. Instead of adding new risks, South Carolina should strengthen our maternal health care, expand prenatal and postpartum coverage, invest in obstetric services in underserved counties, and increase access to affordable contraception and support programs that reduce racial disparities in our care. South Carolina's maternal death rate is already unacceptably high. We should take steps to save lives, not pass laws that will cost them. Thank you for your time today.
Next is Michael Butrin.
Good morning and thank you. My name is Michael Butrin. I'm with the American Conservative Voices. Let me preface by stating the American Conservative Voices applaud you for having the fortitude to create a bill eliminating the killing of innocent babies. We believe this bill is essential and moral. We will not bore you with unsupported dialogue. You've heard all the excellent reasons why you should approve this bill, and yet the best reason is for your creator. Instead, I will hand out information, I will submit information and give purpose, which will give purpose to this bill. When I knew I was going to speak, I looked at both sides of the coin here. I looked at what was being said and what was being followed up by it. And what I did find is that independent sources always went against whatever abortion advocates would say. There's one report about pro-abortion interpretation, which researchers by an independent group and with more than 50 references reinforcing their findings. In summary, the report said that the study that was presented by an abortion group was unethically violated participants' privacy and misleads public with a non-representative sample, selective reporting, and overstated conclusions. In closing, it's perilous to accept material submitted by abortion advocates. I shared documentation of a young woman, Jessie, who is pro-life and was a student at a South Carolina university.
Excuse me, sir, your time's up. Thank you.
Next speaker is Sarah Rotero. Sarah, you here? Okay. Courtney McLean.
Sarah, yes.
Oh,
Yes, Sarah.
oh, okay.
Right here?
Yes.
Hello. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with in vitro
Please state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sarah Brooks.
Sarah Brooks?
Yes.
Hold on just a minute. Is that the name you called?
Sarah Rotero.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you're not up to speak
Oh, okay.
right now, ma'am.
Thanks. Sorry.
Courtney McLean.
Good morning. My name is Courtney McLean, and I am here speaking in opposition in my personal capacity. At this very moment, nearly 200,000 children in our state are suffering from hunger. Nearly 4,000 are in foster care. We have the 8th highest maternal mortality rate and consistently rank in the bottom 10 of education systems in the U.S., and gun violence remains the #1 cause of death for children ages 1 to 19. These are not just statistics. These are lives, these are families, and these are futures. So let me be clear. clear. S323 is not about protecting life. It's about preserving control. If the sponsors of this bill truly cared about children or the women who risked their lives to bring them into this world, they would be fighting to fix these issues. Instead, these same leaders who defend life are removing exceptions for adult and child victims of rape and incest, attempting to criminalize women and the doctors who care for them, and has the potential to give more jail time to rape survivors who seek an abortion than the man who raped her, as less than 1% of cases lead to convictions. Some supporters of this bill have falsely claimed that women are using abortion as birth control while ignoring that this bill simultaneously decreases access to true contraceptives. Women are not using abortion as birth control. They are navigating the hardest decisions of their lives in a system designed to punish them at every turn. And now with this bill, that punishment will become law. We are watching an all-out assault on freedom, dignity, and medical care. So let me say it plainly. Women deserve the right to choose control over their bodies. Doctors should not be punished for doing their jobs. In 2021, I oppose S0001, and in 2025, I oppose S232. And the sister senators may have lost their seats, but they gained a backbone that many in this room do not have. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kaya Jackson. Kaya Jackson. Okay. Dr. Tom Kendall, I believe he's afternoon. He's going to be in the right. Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Cheryl Wigfall would be next.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Wigfall. South Carolina mothers are dying at alarming rates.
Excuse me, ma'am. Are you speaking for or against the bill?
I'm speaking against.
Well, you signed up to speak for,
Okay.
so you're not going to be allowed to speak, ma'am.
I mean, I think I have two. Are you?
If you signed up to speak against the bill, you signed up to speak for the bill, and you're against the bill.
Okay.
So you signed up in the wrong place. I'm sorry.
Well, I had two numbers, so you might be looking at the wrong one.
I'm not looking at it. I'm following what staff is telling me.
Or are you talking about Cheryl or Sherelle? It's two different people.
Cheryl Wigfall.
Yeah.
Is that you, ma'am?
Yes, but we have a Cheryl Wigfall as well.
I'll check by email. What's your email address?
They're both signed up under the same email.
Go ahead, ma'am. Then we'll take two testimonies for. Go ahead.
Okay. South Carolina mothers are dying at alarming rates, 32.3 per 100 live births, above the nation's average rate of 23.2 fates. And isn't it ironic, as clear as can be, that the bill before us is numbered S323? Instead of saving lives, it would put more at stake, adding chaos to a system already stretched to break. With 2/3 of our state considered rural land, access to care slips right through our hands. Rural mothers face a 62% higher chance to die, and S323 will only multiply why. In some counties, not a birthing ward in sight. Tell me, how is denying care ever right? Hospitals are closing and deserts of care expand. Women drive for hours just to find a healing hand. Since 2010, 182 rural hospitals in this nation have closed. 7 more here in South Carolina stand at risk, doors nearly closed. We rank in the top 10 worst for mothers and infants to survive. I was just 10 then, now I'm 25. In 15 years, the crisis has only grown, and S323 will cut deeper into harm already shown. I am a survivor, I know this pain. Assault took my power, and I fought to reclaim. I choose abortion, I choose my life. That choice gave me freedom, not chaos or strife. My 96-year-old granny had no choice at all. Her cries unheard, her options small. Generations later, must we repeat the past, or will we lead with courage that lasts? So I ask you today, as you cast your projection, whose lives are you protecting, or are you just projecting? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker on the in favor list would be Christy Schwartzendrew.
Excuse me. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to share. I'm in favor of S323. I serve with Restored Life Abortion Recovery Ministry, and we see the faces of women and even men every day who are devastated by the aftermath of abortion and who seek us out for counseling. I am personally familiar with this devastation. When I was 12, my neighbor took me without parental consent to a hospital for an abortion in hopes of protecting her nephew from the consequences of his actions. Because I was afraid to speak, and because of a corrupt system, they got away with it. Who was my advocate? No one. Over 60% of women surveyed who have experienced abortion shared they were coerced into doing so. This is prevalent also among women who are involved in prostitution or trafficking. Can you imagine how many women that want their child will experience loss opposed to her unplanned pregnancy? What about the women who believe the lie that is just a clump of cells, a glob of pill abortions make the woman the abortionist and her bathroom the abortion center. Imagine coming face to face with their baby. Women are calling pregnancy care centers in tears, asking, what do I do with my baby? I have it in a jar in my refrigerator and I don't know what to do with it. They're in shock, and the depths of pain are unimaginable, knowing that she killed her own baby. If you say you care about women, then please approve S323, the Unborn Child Protection Act. Better yet, abolish abortion altogether. As long as we allow abortion will continue. Please make South Carolina a safe place for all stages of life. God ultimately will hold each of us responsible opportunity to pass legislation to protect it. Thank you. I have some pamphlets here.
Right. Mr. Chairman, next would be J.R. Slack. J.R., are you here? Okay. Lisa Comerford.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Comerford, and I am from Williamson, South Carolina, and I am for this bill. And I can only just give my testimony. When I was just before my 16th birthday, I gave birth to a son and married his dad and was divorced by the age of 20 and dove into a promiscuous lifestyle and became pregnant 3 more times and chose abortion 3 times for those babies. Many years later, I remarried and now have 5 children at home with my husband. I also had a miscarriage in between those 5 children, and during that marriage, I should say, and I had a miscarriage. It was in that miscarriage that I began to see how my perspective decided whether or not I saw the humanity of my children. And that was a big growing up point for me. I wasn't coerced or, it was my decision to abort my babies, though I didn't fully understand the rights that they had and how God loved them as much as He loved me. I didn't know God at that time. Thankfully, I do now. And that's why I bring my testimony, because I know there are heartbreaking stories here. Mine is one perspective, and it's why I support this, because we have to have God as our base to begin to see what to do with these problems that arise. And when we look to Him and what He thinks of human life and how He loves us and wants life, make decisions, support all the people involved. Thank you.
Next is Miriam Gwynn.
Good morning. My name is Miriam Nguyen. I am the student body president of Furman University, and I stand in firm opposition to S323. This bill is not just an abortion ban, it is an attack on our very foundation of healthcare in South Carolina. Our state already has one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the nation, and this bill will make that crisis far worse. By criminalizing physicians, you will drive doctors out of South Carolina. Rural mothers will be left without OBGYNs, without maternity wards, without emergency care. Women will die, not because of their choice, but because they have no access to care. This bill claims to be protecting life, but South Carolina ranks 40th in the nation on infant mortality, 38th in overall child well-being, and among the bottom in access to health care. Where is the protection for the children who are already here? Where is the protection for the mothers who are dying? Where is the investment in the students who are supposed to carry the state forward? You cannot build a 21st century economy while driving out doctors, while silencing speech, while telling an entire generation that freedom ends where pregnancy begins. And I come here today not just as an individual, but as someone who hears the voices of students every single day. We want to learn, we want to lead, and we want to build our futures here. But we cannot do that in a state where our government seizes control over our bodies. Senators, your duty is not only to protect life, it is to protect our liberty. And this bill does neither of that. It undermines health care, it endangers mothers, and it shackles my generation to futures we did not choose. For the sake of liberty, health, and the future of South Carolina, I urge you to reject this bill in its entirety. Thank you.
Next is Caroline Barber. Caroline Barber. Okay. Linda Karupas.
Linda Karupas from Greenville, speaking in favor of the bill. Current law prohibits abortion after heartbeat detection. Does this make sense? Why the arbitrary heartbeat date? Why is it okay to kill a baby a minute before a heartbeat is detected, but not a minute afterward? At 5 weeks, but not 6. Protection should begin at conception, when life begins. A spark happens at conception, creating a new genetically distinct, living and growing human being. This is not even under debate. Regarding life starting at conception, even former Planned Parenthood President Dr. Guttmacher wrote, quote, "This all seems so simple and evident, it is difficult to picture a time when it wasn't part of the common knowledge," end quote. Babies are innocent, not threats to mothers. A baby is not a usurper, not a parasite, not an intruder stealing life from a woman. It is natural and healthy for the baby and the mother, for the baby to be in the womb. Unlike a kidney or other organ designed to benefit her, a woman's womb is designed to shelter and nourish a separate human being. Our wombs are not for us, but for our babies. The unborn should be protected without exception. Currently, babies conceived in rape can be killed beyond the heartbeat date. Does this make sense? Does a baby conceived in rape have less value than a baby conceived in love? Are you legislators playing God and choosing which babies should live? Babies conceived in rape are not freaks of nature, but ordinary, beautiful babies. Killing the baby punishes the baby for the crime. Killing the baby cannot erase the trauma. It cannot make the mother forget the rape. Instead, the violence of rape is followed by violence of abortion. As many moms attest, giving birth can bring something good out of something evil, and the baby given up for adoption if desired. Currently, babies can be killed to protect the life of the mother, but it's never necessary to intentionally kill a baby to save the life of the mother. 323 allows medical interventions for the mother. If the baby dies as a result, that's sad but not illegal. Do the just thing. Protect babies from conception without exception. Thank you.
Next is Reverend Alston Lippert.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Alston Lippert speaking in opposition to 323. I'm here as a pastor and a person of faith to strongly urge you to vote against this bill. I serve a God of love, and this bill is not loving. It does not protect life. There is substantial evidence that restrictive abortion bills increase maternal mortality as well as infant mortality. And there was a peer-reviewed article in the American Journal of Public Health that said that for restrictive abortion bans, the infant mortality in those states rises by 7%. We had in 2023 over 57,000 births in South Carolina. That means that passing this very restrictive bill will cause an additional 4,000 infant deaths every year in South Carolina because of lack of good medical care. So you're doing actually the opposite of what you're trying to avoid. So we will harm infants and mothers. We will also harm all women in South Carolina because this will drive women's health care providers out of the state because they will have to choose between offering good medical care and trying to navigate whether they're going to be up for a felony charge in a split-second decision. That's very hard. So why would you practice here? Which means all women, even women like me who are past childbearing age, will suffer because we can't get good medical care. And I don't think y'all want that for anybody. So please do what is right and vote against 323.
Next is Sharon Cooper. Sharon Cooper, okay.
No, I think
It says Sharon.
he's down two more.
Okay, okay. Susan
Swanson.
Swanson. Susan? Okay. Mr. Cooper, then you'd be next.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Scott Cooper. I'm from North Augusta. I'm a husband for 36 years. I'm a father of 2 adult sons, including 1 disabled son, and I'm the grandfather of 3, including a granddaughter. I'm here to support the intent of S323. Rather than give more statistics, I want to share a quote and then a personal comment. Knowledge must lead to wisdom, and wisdom must be guided by love. That was stated last week by Tony Perkins, who is the president of the Family Research Council in Washington. I do believe the intent of this bill is executed out of love. Love for the most defenseless among us, both males and females who are not yet born. I believe these lives deserve equal protection that all of us who have been born enjoy. I also believe this bill is being executed out of love for those who might live through the trauma of abortion, both the mother and the father. I believe it is a good thing that these discussions are taking place at the state level, and I appreciate your service at this time in history. There's no question that we are living in challenging times. I'm praying for you who serve on this committee to have an honest discussion about the issue of life. How we now, through technology, know more about how rapidly life grows once conception takes place than at any other time in history. We should have that honest discussion about the implications on the numerous individuals involved when the taking of human life happens unnaturally. Thank you for providing this time for our citizens to speak with you today.
Next is Meredith Duke.
I'm going to allow the senator to speak in my stead today.
Thank you so much, kind lady. I'm Senator Penry Gustafson. I'm here in opposition to S323. And I know for a fact there are many senators who privately agree that an abortion ban in totality with no exceptions is unacceptable. And so my question is, will any of you vote your conscience rather than relying on party allegiance? Do you have the personal fortitude to do the right thing no matter the political consequences? We as a state cannot go through this again, and we shouldn't. And I'm counting on y'all to and challenging you to stop this right now and today. I cannot comprehend how any of you truly believe that if an 11-year-old girl gets raped and impregnated by her grandfather, that she should be forced to have a baby and to carry it. This is rare, and that's why it's called an exception. And that's why those exceptions need to be kept, and without them will create a crushing effect in the medical community and in women. Now, it's really hard for me to comprehend how so many people can appear to be so unsympathetic and unreasonable. But unfortunately, I understand how things work from the inside now. And I know how deals are made every year to trade support for this bill or that. And I know the games are played with personal agendas while real people get hurt, real issues get forgotten, and placed lower on the partisan priority list. Everybody wants to hold on to that precious Senate seat. Well, I'm here to remind you that there is life beyond politics, and it is beautiful. So going along to get along, staying under the radar, making sure that some GOP group doesn't target you, these should not be your standing principles for leadership. And where is the fiscal statement? Where are the missing required fiscal impact statements that have been requested since S1 during floor debate?
Thank you.
Lawfully and repeatedly. And where are the women on this committee?
Your time is up.
Is it because senators like y'all got us pushed out?
Please sit down, or you will be escorted out. Your time is up.
You got us pushed out so you could do this and move forward.
Your time is up.
It is despicable.
Security, would you please escort Ms. Gustafson away?
And you should all be ashamed.
Turn the microphone off, please.
Vote no.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Valerie Berry. Valerie, are you? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Valerie Berry. I support this bill. I work with A Moment of Hope, which is an outreach to women in unplanned pregnancies. This gives me an opportunity to see the wide variety of difficult circumstances that women face. Many of those you have already heard this morning. But it also gives me the opportunity to see what the preborn really are, that a clinically diagnosable pregnancy is a human person developing in the womb. Our organization does ultrasounds, so I've seen many of them from 6 weeks or even earlier when that baby is a grain of rice and that heartbeat is just flickering on the screen, to when they're much bigger and they can wave, jump, and somersault, to when they're born and placed in my arms, often with tears. So many women are grateful that they made that decision to give life to their child. The first mother that I got to know gave birth to her daughter, and she's now 7. She's smart, beautiful, excelling in school. Giving babies like her a future does not mean that mothers won't have one either. It's not an either or, and there's great support for mothers. We work with hundreds of organizations, hundreds of individuals all across our state who volunteer, who walk alongside them through that pregnancy and for years afterwards. And so consequently, we regularly hear from mothers that their baby was the best thing that happened to them because it led to life change and real support. But circumstances and whether that mother is supported, whether that baby is wanted, does not determine the dignity or personhood of that child. Parents shouldn't have the power to determine the last moments of their children's lives, whether it's 6 weeks gestation, 6 months from birth, or 6 years old. At any age, the intentional killing of a child is murder. Abortion is the #1 cause of death of our children, and it should be a crime. Our state protects developing, not yet hatched turtles, and now we have an opportunity to protect developing, not yet born humans. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Next is Dr. Meredith Mitchell.
Meredith Mitchell, against. My name is Dr. Meredith Mitchell, and I'm an OBGYN in Beaufort and Jasper counties. I was born and grew up in Beaufort, where I still have a large family. I'm a success story of education in South Carolina. I graduated high school from the Governor's School for Science and Mathematics and got my MD at MUSC. I moved back home, where I've been taking care of women for 17 years. There are few OBs here that have as much incentive to stay in South Carolina as I do. However, if Senate Bill 323 is passed, I can no longer safely practice medicine in this state, and I would leave. Definitions included in this bill put the use of widely used, safe, and effective contraception at risk. Taking these would strip away women of basic health care in this state. As a woman who uses contraception, I could not stay here. It would be illegal to provide information about abortion. The penalty for even discussing abortion would be a felony with up to 30 years in jail. Anyone who is indicted immediately has their medical license suspended and could not practice while court proceedings took place. Being even accused of discussing abortion could completely ruin a physician's life. How could I continue to practice in this environment safely? This bill provides a list of exceptions where an abortion could be performed to save a mother's life. This list is far from exhaustive. Who will help us figure out when we can take care of our patients? We are the ones making these decisions in small hospitals, on holidays, in the middle of the night. What if we make a decision that y'all think is not acceptable? 30 years in jail. The decision between the life of a patient and my own freedom is terrifying. Although I believe abortion should be safe and legal, I am not an abortion provider. I'm a small town doc taking care of women and delivering babies, a job I dearly love. There's a shortage of OBGYNs in this country and especially in this state. I get notifications of jobs in other states and countries every day. It would be difficult for for South Carolina to recruit new OBs to our state, and it would be difficult for us to stay here. There will not be enough doctors taking care of women in this state, and if you hear nothing else I've said today, hear that.
Next is Darren Schwartzendruber.
Good morning. My name is Darren Schwartzendruber. I'm here to speak in favor of S323. I'm a husband, a father of 6, 2 of which are adopted, a grandfather of 6, and I have been active in the Greenville pro-life community for the last 15 years. I'm currently a volunteer with Love Life Greenville. Life begins at conception. At that moment, a brand new, unique, never to be formed again life is created with its own unique DNA, a DNA that is different from the mothers and the fathers, a unique person who deserves to have its life protected. In our society, if a person knowingly takes the life of an innocent person, they have committed murder. In our society, we also punish murder. Abortion takes the life of an unborn person, therefore, it is murder. We have federal laws, such as the Unborn Victims of Violence Act of 2004, and state laws like the California Penal Code 187A that make it a double homicide if both mother and child are murdered while committing a violent act. So obviously, as a society, we recognize that the baby in the mother's womb is a life. So why is it that if a little baby is gifted to someone who wants that little boy or girl, we hold baby showers, buy baby clothes, celebrate that life? Why is this baby celebrated, protected, and the child targeted for murder not? Circumstances. I've yet to meet any pro-life advocate that doesn't want to help these moms in need, and I believe that will continue. So I ask you to please support S323. Thank you.
Next is Sarah Petkus.
I'm Sarah Petkus. I'm opposed to S323. I'm a mom of two, former public school teacher from Charleston, and I currently work in literacy programs. My day-to-day doesn't usually involve driving up to the State House. But this bill before you is extreme and dangerous in many ways, so I felt compelled to speak up. We know from other states that women's health can be jeopardized when laws like these are passed. Yet lawmakers continue to pursue more and more extreme measures that very few of your constituents seem to be asking for. OBGYNs are already in short supply in our state. Last year, 14 out of 46 counties lacked a practicing OBGYN. If we criminalize medical procedures that are often needed to save lives and threaten doctors with prosecution, many will simply leave. We just heard it. Medical students will decide not to train here. Recruitment of new specialists will become nearly impossible. The result? Fewer doctors, longer waits for care, and riskier pregnancies for everyone. In my own experience with my first pregnancy, I relied on the quick actions of a team of doctors and specialists at MUSC to save my life in a rare and potentially fatal situation. If there had been fewer doctors available that day, if there were fewer highly trained specialists recruited to South Carolina, if my doctors had needed to consider every decision through a lens of possible prosecution or wait to consult the hospital's legal counsel, I might not still be here to raise my two kids with my husband. I'm eternally grateful to all of them. I want them to be able to stay and practice medicine in South Carolina. I want doctors like them to want to come here. This bill does not just affect those seeking abortion. Redefining embryos would throw into question contraception, IVF, miscarriage care. This will make it much harder for couples struggling with infertility to use reproductive technologies like IVF to build their families. Much like in my own family, IVF is often their only hope. I want the same access that I had to full infertility care for other hopeful parents in our state. The people of South Carolina deserve access to skilled doctors, safe and reliable medicine, and the chance to build families when and how they are able. Thank you.
Next speaker, Julie Shearer. Julie Shearer. Okay. Susie Wedgwood. Okay. Okay, I see her.
Hi there. My name is Susie Wedgwood. Excuse me. I'm from Piedmont, South Carolina, and I have my wife and a mother of 4 kids and 14 grandchildren. I had the opportunity and was blessed to be at the abortion clinic as a sidewalk counselor for about 15 years. I saw many girls during that time going in, and I had literature to be able to show them what was going to happen to them. I said, this is what an abortion is. They were startled. They had no idea that this was going to happen to them. When I showed them the literature, many of them turned around and went away. Some went in. I had the opportunity to see the girls that went in come out, buried in their seats, weeping and crying and screaming and saying, I wish I'd never done this. But they did have the opportunity to see the material. Basically, I've counseled many girls that have had abortions and are sorry that they had abortions. There's so many repercussions from it. Suicide, drinking, drugs, everything you can imagine traumatize these girls. And then I have girls that have chose life, and they have brought their babies back to me, and I was able to see these babies at 6 and 7 years old. Thank you for being there for me. So I'm in favor of the Bill 323 because it is life, and I stand on what God says in His Word. The scriptures are in Jeremiah, I knew you before when you were created in the womb. And God says that I say that I'll obey God rather than man. And basically, we don't create life. God creates life. It's a sin to murder. The Bible says, do not murder in the 10 Commandments. So we need to stand on that. We're going to face our Creator one day, and we're going to be held accountable for life. And so I stand for Bill 323.
Bonnie Webster is our next speaker.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Bonnie Bailey Webster. I'm a fourth-generation South Carolinian and lifelong resident of this state. I'm here to speak in opposition to the bill. The three men pushing this bill have deeply held values about the sanctity of life, which I respect. I imagine that at the crux of their belief is that life begins at conception. While that is widely debated among both theologians and scientists, what is undeniable is the vast number of women in South Carolina who are the victims of sexual assault each year. According to the South Carolina Coalition for Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, there were 3,536 reported cases of sexual assault in South Carolina in 2022. Of those, 1,499 were children under the age of 18. Given this, what is also undeniable is the amount of suffering women and girls facing the most horrific acts of sexual violence and loss could continue to endure should this bill pass. You say that you want to pass a law to protect and honor the sanctity of life. This law does just the opposite when it comes to women who experience sexual violence or miscarriage. These women and girls are also the precious children of a divine creation. Their lives have value and must not be further ripped apart by the perverse acts of rapists and pedophiles. They and their medical care providers must be allowed to make decisions about their well-being following acts of sexual violence. In that same vein, caregivers must be allowed to give women experiencing miscarriage the highest level of care. Chances are you know someone who had a miscarriage that required medical intervention. What would the world look like today without her? Everyone on your committee can think of a country governed by laws that reflect a powerful government's religious beliefs. It is probably a country that you do not want to live in, you do not want to raise a family in, and you certainly do not want to be a woman in. This law would push our state in that direction, and as South Carolinians, we simply cannot let this happen. Please do not support this bill.
Next speaker, Terry Wedgwood. Terry's not here. Okay.
Good morning. My name's Terry Wedgwood. I'm from Piedmont, South Carolina. I'm 76 years old, have 4 children, 14 grandchildren. About 36 years ago, I saw a short 6-minute video called The Hard Truth. It opened my eyes to the truth about abortion and how awful it was and what it did to people. It brought great conviction upon me that I need to take a stand. So for the past 36 years, my wife and I have been heavily involved in pro-life work. We've also been involved in starting Crisis Pregnancy Center and have always done everything we could possibly do as followers of Christ to save the lives of unborn children. Little did I know that about 20 years after we got involved in this, that one evening one of our daughters would come home to us and sit down with a young Mexican boy that next to her and told us that she was pregnant. We never thought anything like that would happen to us, but we knew the truth that was life that she was carrying, and we weren't going to go the abortion route. And I'm thankful that we had raised our daughter up to know the truth too, and she never considered that. I also believe that this new bill can be a deterrent to some of the outrageous and sex problem that we have in this country, especially among young people. I believe there's a deterrent for that for someone. I believe it can have an effect. So I stand in support of this bill, S-323. Thank you.
Next is Ashlyn Pro.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. You did pronounce my name right, so thank you. I come before you not only as a South Carolinian, but as a mother of 3 whose life was saved by urgent, clearly life-saving medical care during and then after childbirth. I'm urging you to vote no on Senate Bill 323 because this bill will put countless more families like mine at risk. In 2020, I gave birth to my twins. What should have been one of the happiest days of my life turned into a terrifying fight for my survival. I had an emergency C-section. I lost a dangerous amount of blood, needing multiple blood transfusions just to stabilize me. I had an extra long hospital stay because of that, and then 2 days after getting out of the hospital, I was sent back to the hospital with postpartum preeclampsia. If you know anything about that, that is a very dangerous, threatening, life-threatening condition that can change in a matter of minutes, hours if you have that. My care team was able to act quickly and decisively without fear of being criminalized from laws like this one. Because of their swift action, I'm still here to talk to you today. My twins still have their mom, and my eldest daughter, Lucy, still has her mom. If that had been in law in 2020, if this bill, S-323, had been in law, my story might have ended very differently. The bill does way more than just ban abortion, as y'all know. There's no exceptions for rape, incest, or fatal fetal diagnoses. It grants legal personhood to embryos and to fetuses, which could expose doctors and patients to homicide charges. Preeclampsia complications and other complications don't wait for lawmakers. They don't wait for Senate hearings. They don't wait for any of that. It's life or death, and doctors need to be able to act quickly and without threat of prosecution. I have some stuff to leave with y'all. A petition of over 6,000 South Carolinians who have signed their names to stand against this bill. Senator Hutto, I'd like to give it to you if that's okay. And then also testimonies, personal stories from conservative commentator Andrew Sullivan, who compiled these things to explain that it's more nuanced than what we are being told here today. Thank you.
Next is Patsy Storia. Well, Storla, yes. I'm sorry, ma'am, Storla.
Not a problem. Thank you, sir. The rest of the Storlas are on dairy farms in Iowa. But I am a South Carolinian, a wife, and the mother of an adult daughter. Thank you for your opportunity today to speak. Thank you, Senator Cash, for bringing this bill to us. As you can see by the color of my hair, I am perhaps more of a contemporary for those of you on this panel than the lady sitting in the audience. So I can speak as someone who lived Roe v. Wade in the 70s. In my 20s, in the 1970s, I went to New York to obtain an abortion. You've heard two prior speakers speak of the fallout from that, emotionally, physically, and morally. I will not reiterate that because we all have our own moral compass. But I do think you might agree with me that generationally we understand that what we believe is true and right and the best for us in our 20s may not be what is true and right and best for us in our 70s. I have come to believe that life is sacred from inception forward. I therefore support this bill in that respect. I also am very supportive of the educational end of this bill. As we all know, when we think we know everything when we're younger, we find out later that perhaps there are life lessons that can be learned later on. Thank you for the thought you have given this bill. I ask you to continue to consider it, and I am particularly glad that we have an educational end because as a supporter of a moment of hope, I have seen the difference that an ultrasound can make when a woman has an opportunity to actually see the life she carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the final speaker this morning will be the Reverend Karen Romastan.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Karen Romastan, and I'm a mother and grandmother, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. What I believed in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, I continue to believe in my 70s. Before this caller came, there was another call in my life, and for many years I worked as a clinical director for Planned Parenthood. I saw and heard many things, thus I am compelled to be here today. We could discuss the many aspects and perspectives and opinions about abortion, and we could discuss when there might be an exception to the law to allow a woman to choose an abortion. But I don't believe that that is really the issue at hand. For me, the real issue is the government does not belong in the uteri of women. The government has no business in the private decisions of women, their partners, and their medical care teams, their doctors. The government has no right to infringe on a person's sovereignty. And of course, we're speaking of the sovereignty of persons with a uterus. This story comes with a trigger, and yet it is still a lived story. On a rainy Monday morning, I saw a woman emerge from a bus, and in her left arm was a toddler, and in her right hand was another child. She proceeded to tell me of the massive amount of abuse that she received at home. All the marks on her body proved it true. She was forbidden from working outside of her home. She was forbidden from using birth control, but was compelled to be available to her husband's pleasure on command. She was fearful that she was pregnant again. How many pregnancies? And may I make just one sentence?
Go ahead.
With respect to all of the men who spoke and to the men on this committee, I ask you to please not advance this bill. Men have always had and exercised the right to choose to parent. Please allow women that same right. And as Margaret Sanger said, no woman can call herself free who doesn't own and control her own body. And what my Bible tells me is, yes, we are to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly.
All right, that concludes the morning part of this committee meeting. We are going to take a recess, and we will return to this room at 1 p.m. For expert testimony that's been arranged both for and against the bill at that time. You make a motion, Senator?
A motion.
To recede till 1.
Until 1 o'clock.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye.